Okay, we are here this afternoon with Mr. Tom Stanley. Good afternoon, Tom. How you doing?
Very good, Ron, thanks.
Good. Now, he's a luthier, builder of some very nice basses that I bumped into over the weekend over at the London Bass Guitar Show at Olympia. It's been a pleasure talking, playing, listening to them being played. And now we're going to have a little chat for the Jazzy Ron Radio Show. Now, how long have you been doing basses?
Probably about 25 years since I built the first instrument from just a pile of wood. But this project, the Stonefield project, started in earnest in late 2009, early 2010.
Now, what made you start building basses as opposed, because you've been playing them for a while, haven't you?
Correct. I started about 17 years old, picked up a gig with a band. Mm-hmm. I had been learning guitar, and I would hesitate to say at that point that I was a guitar player, but some friends got a gig, didn't have a bassist, asked me if I would be interested in buying a bass and filling in for them on bass for that gig. Mm-hmm. Of course, I thought, oh yeah, cool, I got a gig. You know, I'd never played in front of people before.
No, that feeling, yeah.
And I wasn't quite prepared for how much impact that would have on me as far as my choice of instrument. I love the sound of the bass. I love the feel of the sound, you know, when that vibration hits you. And I'm a big guy, I'm 6'7", so I've got fairly large hands, and the bass fit me physically better than guitar as well. And yeah, realistically, there was no looking back from that point. I was a bassist.
Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to play for bands, or do you just enjoy building the instruments?
Yeah, at this point in my life, I have not worked in a band for a long time. I've got friends that I jam with, a couple guys that every now and again will get organized and do a live gig. For me, this is where I'm going with my life, and it was a decision that I made about 6 years ago, as 2009, 2010, something I'd always wanted to do. And I had at that point decided if I didn't give it a good go, there's going to be some point in the future where I'm going to be wishing I had.
So now is as good a time as any.
Yeah, so realistically, I guess the short answer to your question is, yeah, where I see myself going, yeah, I'm still active in music, but not professionally as a player. Mm-hmm. Stonefield is realistically my future in music.
Okay. Now, the name Stonefield, how did that come about?
My name is Tom Stanley. Mm-hmm. Stanley means Stonefield.
Ah, okay. That slipped straight past me there.
Yeah, there's probably a few people out there familiar with Old English names and things. So variants of Stanley are Stoneley, Stonefield.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right, now, you have several styles of basses, or several models. They range from what to what? Because the one I do love is the fretless, as you know.
That's beautiful. The 5-string fretless you played at the show. Lovely instrument. We got some good reviews from players on that bass. That we do one body style. We call it the Model 1, just to be really creative with our labeling on the instruments. We got the Model 1. We offer the Model 1, though, in 5 variants. A 4-string in a narrow and a wide string spacing. The wide we call the Classic, and the narrow we call the Slimline. The Classic would be similar to a Fender precision bass spacing, approximately 19 millimeters between the strings at the bridge. Mm-hmm. We use a proportional string spacing, so it is not actually 19 millimeters equidistant between each string center. The strings actually spread out a little bit as you get to the heavier strings. So we've got the Classic at around 19. We've got the Slimline around 16. We offer that in the 4s and the 5s. And then we do a 6-string, which is only in the Slimline, because if it was in the Classic, it would be a beast.
You'd have to have hands like the Hulk to actually play.
Exactly right, yeah.
But the 6-string did look, I fell in love with it, but I couldn't have it. I just couldn't.
Quite a playable instrument. We had a few people on it that were impressed with the fact that it was so playable for the fact that it was a 6.
So, yeah. Now, if I wanted to get hold of one of your basses, being as you are in New Zealand.
Yes, Christchurch, New Zealand is our base.
So that means I'd have to go all the way to New Zealand to get one.
It's a good place to come for a holiday.
Don't. I'm considering it. I am considering it. Now that I've seen something,
come on down. Yeah, it's a great place to visit. Lovely people down there. Great scenery. And it was just a chance encounter with somebody in 1994 when I was back there that led to a job offer. And that's how I moved from Orlando, Florida in the U.S. to Christchurch, New Zealand. A 2-year contract. here I am 21 years later still living there. Coming back to your question, though, if you want to order a Stonefield, we've got the website, www.stonefieldmusic.com. We offer ready-made instruments, which, as a matter of fact, all of the instruments that we had at Olympia here in London are now available for sale. They're up on the website. We also do a side of the store called Build Your Own. I don't offer full Lutherie service, as in you call up and specify your nut width and your fingerboard profile and radiuses and that type of thing. However, from our ready-made components, we've got body sets with the body core and the top wood glued onto it, pre-shaped, sitting on the shelf, assigned to be part of Build Your Own. We've got through body cores with fingerboards on them ready to go. Yeah. And you can browse through that selection and say, yes, that's the body set I want. Yes, that's the through body with that neck. You can select for the floating bridges. You can select from the 3 different types of woods we've got. But more to the point with Build Your Own is what you see is what you get. When you buy numbered set 43, you like it because you like the grain patterns, you like the figuring, you like the type of wood. So when you order that Zebrano body set, you get that one. Same with the bridges. Ebony, Black Myri, and Australian Jarrah. And for Black Myri, a bit of an unusual timber there. That's a New Zealand native timber that's very limited to New Zealand's North Island. It's very hard. It's a timber that in the 1800s was used for bearings and machinery.
Bearings and machinery?
Absolutely. It's argued that it's a more dense timber than lignum vitae, which is recognized as the world's hardest timber. So depending on the dendrochronologist, I think is the right word. Depending on who you're speaking with, you'll get arguments as to Black Myri is actually harder than. We use that. We use Solomon Island ebony and Australian Jarrah. If you're looking at a bridge on the Build Your Own section, when you say, click, that's the one I want, that is the one you get. So you see a bridge that you love the way the grain pattern is or the figuring on the wood, that's the one you buy. Quite a nice service. So there you go, a couple options. Either one ready-made or Build Your Own. We don't charge extra, so to speak, for Build Your Own. Build Your Own is going to cost the same as if that base had been put together and sitting in the off-the-shelf section. The difference is off the shelf, you order it today, it's going out the door in 2 or 3 days once we've got it packed up and prepared for shipment. Build Your Own, probably got about a 3-month wait while we assemble the instrument, prepare it, get the finishing on it, wait for finishing cures. But realistically, it's not costing you any more. You just have to wait for it.
And it's well worth the wait.
Thank you, Ron.
Now, the other thing that has grabbed my attention somewhat is the cases.
Oh, thanks. Yes.
Because they are, for want of a better words, they look good.
Thanks.
Most cases are just cases, this kind of an aftermarket add-on to the bass. Right, you've got your bass, now I need a case. You actually do it the other way around.
We couldn't do commercially available aftermarket cases because of some of the features on the instrument. We run a 3-degree back angle on the neck. That causes some issues. The fact that we use a floating bridge system raises the strings up to a point as well where we've got quite a, I don't know how to describe it properly, I guess it's thick between the back of the body and the string surface. That combined with the back angle on the instrument, because of the tailpiece tuning system we use is about 50 millimeters longer than an average bass. So in spite of my greatest efforts not to have to do commercial cases, in the end I had to do commercial cases. So we went for something that's really nice. And to that end, we call it a light flight case. It's built as if, I guess, a flight case would be built, but not to the full extreme specifications where you can throw it off of a 10-story building. With ours, you could probably confidently throw it off of a 2-story building and not damage the instrument. So we run aluminum extrusions on the edges. We got a handle rated at 15 kg and quite a chunky handle. It feels really nice to hold it. The paneling on the case, going from the outside to the inside, you've got 0.4 millimeter extruded aluminum with an embossed pattern on it that gives it more rigidity. That's layered over a 5 mil plywood. On the inside of that plywood, then, we have a 3 mil corrugated, is it like cardboard, only plastic, which gives us a 3 millimeter crush core, and then that's finally lined with a plush fleece. So good luck to the airlines on damaging a Stonefield bass, or any bass.
We
We offer the cases for Stonefield instruments, of course, and As a matter of fact, you can't buy one of our basses without the case. I just won't sell it that way. But we also offer the case with a more subtle branding of Stonefield Musical Instrument Company and a badge type of logo, as opposed to our Stonefield name kind of boldly on the side of the case for players that have other brands, and we can fit out the case to suit your other brand.
Oh, yeah. Right. Do you get that little toolkit with it as well, or is that standard?
Absolutely correct. Because of the tuning system on the instrument, there are some specialized tools that are required for tensioning the headstock, friction stays. We've got a truss rod adjusting wrench in there. That's part of the bass. You get the little toolkit as well. You have to have the toolkit.
Yeah. When I first saw the bass, I thought, hang on, he's missing something on that.
Up on the headstock.
Different. But then I realised the tuner's at the bottom.
Correct.
So then if you have to detune it for transportation purposes, that is going to be a lot of twisting. But now that you've shown me how you tune it from nothing to playable, it's an act I like to see.
It's a piece of cake. Yeah, it's a piece of cake. It does look a bit complicated, and a few of the players on the stand at the show, what is this? How do we deal with this? And like the demo I gave you. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I break out the little tuning key for the headstock. I break the tension on all the strings, and I retune the instrument, and it works a treat, and it's pretty quick.
It's all done in minutes as well, which is kind of cool.
Looks a little intimidating to start with.
Even the electrics, I've noticed the way that your input plugs are set and how they're made, or what they're made of, is very different to all the others I've seen.
Yes, correct.
How did you come about with that design?
The placement of the jack is on the front of the instrument, and it's angling out at 30 degrees. And it's down in that rear quarter where you normally have all your control knobs, and we have control knobs there as well. It was a matter of getting the jack away from the stand, if you will. A lot of instruments, when you put them down in a stand, doggone it, your cable, that jack is sitting right where the stand support is. So you either unplug or you cock your instrument off to the side a little bit. Ergonomically, it is where your hand goes when you bring a cable up through your strap and around to the front of the instrument. Bang, there it goes. So that was really the catalyst, I guess, behind the placement of that jack. I stood there one day, brought my cable up through my strap button as I do, cable's dangling, and I just said, right, where does this go? I grabbed the jack, put it to the bass. Well, that's where it went. That's where the jack now is. And so it does protrude from the front of the instrument. A couple people look at it and think, well, that's just a little bit too weird. Why don't you sink it in the instrument the way a lot of other manufacturers do? To be honest, I'm running out of room inside the instrument. The electronics in a Stonefield bass are pretty different to others. And
yes, I've heard that. Yes. Oh, yeah.
So we've got a lot of componentry in there. The electronics are all passive. There's no batteries, there's no preamps, but that requires a host of componentry that you don't normally find in a bass.
They're all passive?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the ones I played on Saturday were passive?
Passive controls. So you've got a high control, a mid-range control, and a low control, all in a passive circuit. Oh,
man, that sounded mind-blowing, because I've never seen anything like that before. Not passive.
No, passive, it was... Again, going back to my original interest in designing the bass, I love the sound in some ways of active electronics. I love the fact you can get a really, booted, chunky punch in there. But there are other parts of an active system that sound quite sterile to me. Batteries and preamps. All right, you're going to, sooner or later, that battery runs out. And to me, it was inevitable. We're in the middle of something really lovely and subtle, and all of a sudden you start hearing your tone going off because the battery is dying and the tonal circuit in that active system is starting to do slightly different things. And then the battery dies and you get this distorted sound coming out in the middle of something lovely and beautiful or jazzy and cool. It doesn't matter. The battery always wants to die at the worst possible moment. And yes, I'm sorry, I'm one of those guys that doesn't change his battery every gig or every week. I run that battery till it does die, and inevitably it dies at the wrong time. So I had a real interest in getting away from batteries and preamps. Also overdriving amplifiers too. I've got one bass with an active circuit that puts a little bit too much into the amp, just runs a wee bit hot. So yeah, I wanted to design a passive circuit that could do high, low, and mid, and that was the big one, was the mid, getting that working. And it's a notch filtering type of system. It pulls out selected frequencies. You've got 10 selectable frequencies that you can remove from the mids. It would be, I guess in audiophile terms, it's a high Q mid filter, a very sharp spike.
Yeah.
So it's not a broad sweeping reduction of mid. It's pulling out a very specific frequency range. People ask me, oh, what are the frequencies? I don't know. They're the ones that sounded good to me when I was working with the different components and developing the system. I think you would have heard this too. Every setting you hear that something has just changed.
Yeah.
It's not some slightly little subtle thing that you wonder if you actually just move the control. But keeping it passive was important to me. It was a challenge. And I guess where that all comes home is the fact that there is a lot of componentry and there's some very expensive componentry in there. But we get this wonderful passive system that allows active capability.
I honestly thought it was an active setting. I really did, because when I played it on, Saturday, I thought, wow, it's sharp and it really brings it up. Now you're telling me 2 days later, it's actually passive. Okay, well that's blown my element out of the water.
That's cool. I love to blow people's thoughts out of the water.
Yeah. No, but it's a wonderful, wonderful product. And I saw from earlier, because I hadn't heard of Stonefield until that day. So I went in, as I normally do, walking around to see who's there, and I saw all the usual suspects. Then I came across your stand, and I thought, well, that looks different. And the first thing I saw was a 5-string hanging on the wall, and I thought, that's good, but how do you tune it? Then I realised the tuner was at the bottom.
Correct.
And I thought, this is worth a look. So I walked in, had a chat, and then we just got off with it, and that was it. And I thought, I like this. So we started talking, and here we are. 2 days later, we're here having a serious chat about some very, very serious equipment.
Thanks.
Now, if anybody wants to get one, they go to your website.
The website's been up and running since around October. Fully active as in the sense of a working store with PayPal capability, so you can do bank transfer, you can do credit card payments. So www.stonefieldmusic.com. We've also got some pages on there talking about the woods we use. We do have a page on there about the tailpiece tuner. It's unique to our basses. It's my own design. It's something else. Going back to the design stage with the instrument, I like tailpiece tuning. I like the balance it allows a bass to have. I hate neck dive on instruments. It's taking away your left hand's freedom when you're having to adopt postures with the instrument just to balance it. So the tailpiece tuning allows us nice balance on the instrument. It was another one that took several years of work to do.
I can only imagine.
From the very first proof of concept model through to one that was good enough that I finally thought I better take this to a patent attorney and just see if I need protection on this. Then finally through to what's on the instrument now. Yeah, quite a few variants. However, the difference between the proof of concept was pretty agricultural, if you will. The one that went to the patent attorney was starting to get into the zone of commercially workable product. So if I draw the line with that, forget about the agricultural proof of concept. It's subtle variations. We had several comments on the stand over the weekend where people were just admiring the engineering of the bridge, of the tuning system, of the headstock friction stays. And it's just, all right, just don't think I sat down and in one fell swoop designed this thing.
Now, this is years.
It was about 3 years of evolutionary design, and it has come together in a tailpiece tuning system that's beautiful to use. Very smooth, easy to operate. The way we tested it, when I say we, it was me, because once the patent attorney saw it and decided this needs protection, then nobody can see it. And so the only people that had it were under non-disclosure agreements. And one of those people was my girlfriend. And she was the main tester on, is this easy to use? So in my mind, this thing had to be usable by a 10-year-old that wanted to play bass, or I don't have a good product. And so, Kate, my girlfriend, said, right, Kate, I would like you to be the tester for this. And what I would like you to do when you test it, I would like you to close your eyes and use your thumb and your third finger. So thumb and third finger is the weakest thing. If you can tune the thing easily with that combination, then I think I've got a product that's suitable for the market.
So you've got to crank it and break your finger.
Well, as you can imagine, we went, through a couple of years. Oh, I've got a new one. I've got another variation. And she's like, all right, bring it here. And then she'd give me about 2 seconds. Nope. And wait, all right, I'll try again. Weeks later, all right, I've got another one. Okay. And yeah, there was that one moment where it all came together.
Eureka.
Bring it to her, and she does close her eyes. She thumb and third finger, and she opened her eyes. She went, yeah, that's easy.
We should have got to that one first. Yeah. All these ones to get to it.
But it makes for a great story, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that was when I had a really seriously sellable in my mind, anyways.
Because it's usable. It's user-friendly. Everyone can use it.
Yeah.
Now, is this your first trip to London with a baby?
It is indeed. It's my first trip to the UK. I've traveled the world with my other work, management consulting and training work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's my first trip to the UK, so a bit of excitement there.
Well, first trip to London, and look who I bumped into. This young man. But there you go. It's been a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you.
The product is brilliant, wonderful, and just from hearing it, playing it, feeling it, and whatnot, yeah, it's going to go far. It's going to go far. But you can find him on Facebook. Yeah?
Yep, www.facebook.com/Stonefield Music. Mm-hmm. One word. The website, www.stonefieldmusic.com.
Tom, thank you very much for a wonderful interview. And I hope to see you in London again real soon, playing as well.
Thanks for that.
We've always got a jam session over at Arch One.
Third
Friday of every month. So if ever you're in the area, you know where to find us.
I love an improvisational jam session. Good stuff.
You can't beat them. Thanks a lot, mate.
Cool, thank you.
Well, that is how the interview went, and it was, well, you know what, mind blown, learning a lot, understanding the inner workings of a bass guitar from another angle, and in New Zealand as well. Brilliant. Well, some more music.